a blessing because it would have been so hot without it, but it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's 94 here.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty toasty. I'm wearing this sweatshirt because the mosquitoes are a little bit tough.
I was kind of wondering. Yeah.
If you're just joining us, Jesse is in Myrtle Beach. I am in Jacksonville, Florida, and Michael is in good old Greenwood, Indiana.
Yeah.
Where you're tuning in from, guys?
Yes. Michael's in his new oasis.
Yes.
Loving it.
I am.
You going to give us a video tour here, Mike? Give the Alliance a video tour?
Oh, I like it.
We still got some boxes, man. I might do that next time.
Next time.
My bourbon oasis is coming along though. It's looking nice. So
you got to have a housewarming party and you'll like triple your collection.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
We got people flowing in and getting ready to rock and roll. What's going on, Bill? First time for everything.
Bill, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm smoking an Oliva V series. This was, I'm told this was the cigar of the year a couple of years ago. So
Yeah, it was. It had a rating of like 98. Like it was almost near perfect rating in like 2018 something.
hey, Brittany from Greenwood. Good to see you.
Awesome. So 701 team, I'm ready to just kind of dive right in. And this topic is very near and dear for me. It's something that I'm going through right now and kind of navigating out. So God kind of put this on my heart to talk to you because I feel that there's a level of authenticity and realness that we can kind of like our roundtables, you know, so real talk for tonight. So we're going to talk about navigating and going through either a slow time in business or a business slump. And I'm not talking about like a bad month or, oh man, I missed that sale. I'm talking like mass exodus or something is seriously being, your business is seriously being attacked by something, either on the front line or on the back end. And you're just feeling like, what do I do? How do I stop the bleeding? How do I get new people in? So let's kind of talk about some things that business slumps will do for you. That's just what I'll call them, business slumps. Is one, they're going to make you take a hard look at your systems and processes. Second, they're going to have you take a hard look at your DMO process, your income producing activities. You're going to audit your staff. You're going to audit your personal level of comfort. Have you just gotten comfortable and that's kind of manifested something going on in the business? And it's going to expose your consistency with your business. Michael and I were talking before on the pre-call, and he's doing some things right now, and his business is in an upswing. It's in a momentum, but he's doing some things right now to prevent a business slump. So he's being very, very preventative. I think maybe we can talk about that later. So it's important to realize that your business can have a serious cancer or problem in it, and you don't even know. You have no idea. Matter of fact, you might be having some record months. You might be thinking, wow, things are doing really good. And there can actually be a cancer in your business festering. So if your business is not in a slump, and this can be applied to marriage, health, fitness, really whatever you want to apply it, but things sometimes will feel like they're on autopilot when they're not. So you guys can kind of use this to audit all different areas, but we're going to kind of keep it specific to business. So I got 5 ideas for you. We'll kind of roundtable each of these ideas. And number 1 is analyzing your staff. And so first we're going to start with your non-income producing staff. Okay. So these are people, they don't drive revenue, but they tend to be needed. And Michael shared something earlier this week called the Parkinson's Law. And I think all businesses fall prey to this Parkinson's Law. I'd never heard of it before, but I've seen it exist. And what that is that the work, so the work in your business that needs to be done will expand to the amount of time, budget, and people that you have in your business. So part of growing a business, it's a good thing. You wanna get more people in. Okay, you want to be able to 10x. We've talked about this on business scaling. Well, sometimes if we're not careful, this Parkinson's law comes into play where we're taking the work that one person can do and we're just spreading it over 3 or 4 different people. So Michael, you had brought that that article out. Have you seen that in businesses, or Danny, have you seen that kind of as you're growing your organization, like basically a slowdown because people are being hired in and you got now 2 people doing the work that one used to do?
Yeah, I mean, Jesse, I was actually a part of a very extensive, back in 2009, Walmart, believe it or not, was going through some extensive organizational changes from the top down. I was actually a salaried manager at the time for that. I was one of the youngest salaried managers in the company's history. And it's kind of funny. It's crazy to think about that I used to do this, but I was involved. They hired an outside company to come in and audit the job that these people were doing. And they would say, okay, this is the job. This person is doing the job of 2.4 people, but this person is doing the job of 0.4 people. And they went through and they restructured the whole company based on this big evaluation they paid a bunch of money for. It was millions of dollars. And they sent consultants into the stores all over the world. It was a big, big deal. And what's interesting is I'm very thankful I was able to watch this go down, because I had heard about this back in 2009, believe it or not. And I have been very, very, very careful in my business. I do not hire unless it is like these guys are sinking. Like I don't just hire people. It's just not something. If I'm hiring someone, it's very, very strategic. And it's like everybody is maxed out, because I demand absolute excellence out of anyone that's on my staff. I just don't accept any less. Some other people do it differently. I don't accept it. You know, one of our core values is good isn't enough. Excellence is essential. And that's how we function to the core. And so luckily, you know, I haven't fallen victim to this because I've seen it firsthand, but it happens, in my opinion, almost everywhere. There's just too many people. I always hear the saying, there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Places get top heavy. You know, everybody's a manager or the executive or the senior or whatever. And it's like, where are the people that need to work? We need people to work. So that's my quick take on that. Danny, I'm sure you have a lot of experience in this as well.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of a different environment, but anytime you have a downturn in income or your business is struggling, it's a great opportunity to maybe make some staff shifts that you've wanted to make, but you were afraid to make because difficult, it's hurt feelings. But now you have to make them because the numbers just don't add up. So now it's a good time to really assess your staff and who's really producing, who's not producing, and make those adjustments based on the new reality that the business is struggling. And those are good opportunities to do that.
And I'm going to say, kind of speaking for myself, when you're auditing both your income producing employees and your non-income producing employees, you want to look for having key players that you trust. Look at your business when times are good.
Can I say something to that, Jesse? And just
because you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I think so. And I just want to say, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say that if you're a smaller business, a smaller organization, I would, if I was one-on-one coaching your business, I would tell you, you should not have a person on staff who cannot produce income. I don't care if they're the janitor.
As a smaller organization. Yeah.
Yes. In the
Start
startup
out
phase. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes right into kind of what you were saying, Michael. Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Mhm.
And that's what we were doing in this business that we're navigating out of the slump right now, is we were paying people who weren't paying themselves. So we were offering salaries
Mhm.
to people that weren't covering their salaries, and they didn't really have a very clear function. They had a theoretical function, like, hey, it should work this way. It sounds good.
Mhm.
But beyond that theoretical function, they didn't have anything that really drove the business.
Yep.
So when you're auditing your non-income producing employees, that's very important. And I'm not saying, oh, you just got to cut mass layoffs or whatever. You got to get rid of people, fire your partner. No, but you do got to take an honest look. And one of the reasons why I got to where I am is because I wasn't seeking, or I wasn't following key counsel from the outside saying, hey, you have this position that just doesn't make sense. And the reason I wasn't listening to that counsel is because, hey, things were fine, status quo, comfort. And that's why my next thing is, you've got to audit your level of comfort. Your business is a living and breathing entity, or at least you need to look at it that way. And you would never just say, hey, I'm just going to keep a subpar babysitter around for my baby, because it's comfortable. I mean, it's not that really that good, but it's cool. Baby doesn't have any marks on him. He eventually gets to changing the diaper. And if you look at your business as a living and breathing organism, because in essence it is, this thing can't go away. This thing is designed, or should be designed, to grow, to employ, to contribute more into society. And I just wasn't looking at it that way. I was like, no, we can keep this employee around. It's okay. Things are fine. He's a good guy, which he is. So it's really important to have key counsel go into your business and look and audit your employees, not just your income or non-income producing, but also your income producing employees. Because a lot of times they might get to, especially if they're paid residually on commission. So meaning they make one sale and then they're paid off that sale for the lifetime of that sale. It can be very easy for you to lose some of your sales sharks because they get to a level of income where they're comfortable. So at that point, you may want to start looking into, hey, that's great. I'm glad your income's growing. I'm glad that you're really leveling up. That's awesome. But we're going to demand so many new sales coming in for you to maintain that residual income. Because not everybody's going to be as driven in your business as you are. And the second that comfort hits your key salespeople, that's when the slump starts, and it can lay onto you like a ton of bricks.
Hey, Jess, can I just say something about this? Back in 2008, when everybody's business really was struggling because of the economic downturn, we have a friend, he's told this story many times, who made zero changes to his staff. And he prided himself on that fact. Like, I'm not going to lay off anybody. I'm not going to trim the fat. I'm going to be the guy that pays his staff. I won't take a salary, but I'm going to pay them. And his business went under.
Mm.
And he lost everything. Personally, lost his home, lost his cars, lost everything. And what would you say to first of all, what is that? Is that noble? Is that something different? And, what holds people back from making these hard decisions?
Yeah. I think that there might be a misplaced thought process of nobility, or they're not looking at it kind of like what I said, or they're not looking at their business as it's their obligation for this living and breathing entity to live on.
To stay alive.
And,
Yeah.
and
sometimes you have to make really, really hard choices to keep the organization alive.
Right.
And you guys have read, I'm sure you've read the E-Myth. but it talks about in that book that you can't really rely on emotionally charged decisions. You really have to make strategic, tactical decisions,
Absolutely.
and your emotions can't be a factor.
Yeah.
That's really hard because, you pull someone in, let's say you have to terminate someone and they start crying and it's hard and you feel horrible for them. But unfortunately that you can't fall victim to. Your job is to protect the business. That's the job, it's tough.
If the ship is sinking and you're the captain, your obligation is to that ship. If that ship, if it can be prevented any way, shape, or form, that ship stays afloat and lives are saved and the ship is saved, that is your job as the captain of that ship. It's not to say, hey, the galley guy is a really, really good guy, so I'm going to let the whole ship go down, but darn it, the galley guy is still going to get paid. The obligation would be to the ship, and I know that it's tough, but again, if you look at it, this is your child. What are you as a wife or a husband or man or a woman? What would you do to preserve the life of your child? That's a rhetorical question. You would do whatever it takes. So it's the same thing for the business. And there's no one saying that, hey, now that you stabilize the business, that if you did have to, maybe you did have to let go some good people. It's just, you have to keep the best of the best, or you did have to downsize. There's no one that says that a couple years later, you would not have the capacity to take them back.
Hey, Andrew makes a great point here. Let's say you're not an owner, you're an employee, and your business is clearly struggling. And you know how employees talk, man, the company's struggling. What do you do as an employee?
Yeah, and I love that. That was actually one of my points for employees. Is I think the best thing that you can do as an employee, if the company is struggling, is to become a key player of that company and to help drive revenue.
Yeah.
If you're a non-revenue generating employee and you're a 40-hour week employee, maybe you can take on 5 extra hours, or not extra hours, maybe 5 of the 40 hours and say, hey, you know what? I'm really not skilled at this cold calling, or I'm really not skilled at sales, but what can I do to help the sales department?
Add value.
Yep. Yeah. Danny, you say it to Andrew and Bo all the time. Add value.
Add value. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And that was my next point. When the business is under attack, going all in on your sales skills. You have to refine, you have to increase your sales skills. You can't just justify, oh, it's the economy, oh, the leads are bad, oh, people can't afford it. You have to take ownership over the incoming sales. And in my case, that was one of the cancers. Remember we talked about earlier, the cancer, sometimes you don't know what it is. For us, it was sales. And how did I not know it was sales before? We weren't looking at it. We weren't monitoring the numbers. You know what Michael does in his company? He has whiteboards and his sales numbers are right there. They're pinpointed. He's never going to have a sales cancer attack his business because it's very much magnified. Hey, this is the leads coming in. This is our closing percent. These folks here aren't living up to par. They're gone. These people over here are doing well. We were not monitoring. We would miss sales and be, no one could have got that guy. We weren't realizing how many sales we were missing until we began to fix the problem.
Mm-hmm. Jesse, we had to speak to exactly what you're talking about. You guys remember how much money we committed towards advertisement last month. You guys know that dollar amount. I told you guys about it. It was a big amount. We identified that the leads we were paying for, were not being properly managed. Okay. Our close rate on those leads were 8%. All right. So I turned it over to the best salesperson I have in my organization. I don't know if he's on the call or not. It's Kirk Hins. I said, Kirk, you're taking over on sales. This is unacceptable. We got to pull this out. You and I are going to team up on it together. I'm going to do sales for a while. and I want to show the staff how that works. In the last 3 days, our close rate is 42%.
Wow.
Holy smokes.
Wow. Yeah. Michael, to show some enthusiasm on that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sales is a skill. And what got us into the slump we were in is listening to excuses. Oh, no, I'm good. I've sold for this company before and I sold millions, and not managing by the data, but instead managing by the hype, or managing by, man, this guy's super cool. Maybe he's right. And not looking at the data. You looked at the data, it was broke. You went and then found someone that can fix that problem and put them in 42%.
Yeah. And that's the thing is there's a lot of, there's going to be resistance. People are going to get mad. They're going to ask questions, and they're going to, why am I not getting that? And blah, blah. And it has to be a pure analytical decision. It has to be a decision from purely based on performance.
Yes.
It's not because of you or your name or where you come from, or it's simply because the close rates aren't good and we need to get them better. And so that's what we have to go towards that decision. We have to do it fast too, because the leads will go away.
Right.
They're not always going to be there, you know?
And check this out. So we're having, month isn't over yet, a record high month in company history.
For you, for macro?
Yes, for the
Great, buddy.
And what we did is I partnered with someone that has that skill, that can close. Now, I've been talking about partnering him for a while. He was in the Macro Millionaire system. He was good. He has it. He's invested tons and tons and tons in sales skills. But I always had, like we talked about earlier, I always kind of had that other, I don't know. Do I really want to pay him, partner? I don't know. We have this other guy. And I didn't manage by the data. Had I managed by the data, we would be talking about something else right now other than navigating out of a business slump, because there wouldn't be a business slump. There'd be a business momentum. So to your point, you fix that hole, and we're doing the same thing, and it makes a remarkable difference. And we just weren't tracking our sales metrics before, or I was, but I was listening to too many excuses.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah. Another thing that we've done, this may or may not apply to your business. If you're selling like higher ticket items, you can partner with banks that will look at your business model and they'll say, you know what, I will finance people who maybe can't pay in full for your product or service. I will finance people because, it's proven, it looks good. We will finance people who qualify so that they can afford your product or service. That's been a big, that way you don't have to necessarily bring your price point down or get into the volume business, but you can make your product or your offering more affordable by offering financing. So that was another thing that we changed. So we're still paid up front through the financing company, and then they pay them back in a lot smaller increments. It can be a kind of a win-win. If someone can't afford your product or service but can benefit from it, now they can afford your product and service, you're paid, and then you kick back a small percent to the finance company. So this next point is huge when you're navigating this, because there's nothing that I would ever wish upon any human being. I'd never wish anything bad, but it's financial anxiety, or the feeling that you're not growing. It is a desolate feeling. It is a feeling that is, I believe, a precursor to depression. And I believe that it really affects men big time. So these next couple points is going to be how to navigate these feelings of unproductiveness. I'm not a provider. I'm failing. I can't control this. How do you navigate those feelings in a business slump? And I got two ideas for you. The first is, don't think balance, think mitigation. So what I mean by that is, if you're in a business slump and you've got to fix this, remember, the business, that's a living, breathing entity. It's your responsibility to fix this. It's time to get other people involved. What I see a lot of times is when people are dealing, and we can just say financial anxiety, even if you don't have a business, but say you're going through people hide it. They're still out hooping it up around town. They're still driving the big cars or the whatever. They're still keeping their spending habits because they're so ashamed of the financial anxiety. Don't hide it. Instead, bring people in. I had a buddy when they were experiencing severe financial anxiety. He brought his kids in. He said, hey, mom and dad are going to need to make some changes. This is going to be temporary. This isn't going to be forever, but until we fix this family problem, we're not going to be at every game. Mommy and daddy, we're canceling our gym memberships. We're going to be working out here at home in half the time. We're still going to take care of ourselves, but we're not going to be prioritizing that. You guys aren't going to get the shoes that your friends have. You're not going to get the phones that your friends have. If you want anything, we'll show you. They had a P&L that they would show their kids. And I thought that was super good mitigation for their situation. So if you're in a business slump and you maybe need to put some extra hours or take some extra energy and take some extra focus, get those that you love, get your family involved with that. And maybe you're not doing the date night in its traditional sense, but maybe you're just going all in with the time that you are spending. So say you did a date night and you'd go out to a night on the town and you're going to use some of those hours now to rebuild this business. Now it's the time to mitigate that by focusing on the quality of your relationship with your wife, the quality of the relationship with your kids, by being authentically honest and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable with them. I had a buddy that he did the opposite of this. He hid it all, and it was devastating. It was mentally devastating for him that his brain just went on into thoughts of suicide and all kinds of stuff. So I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on that. So like Danny, when you were when Emmanuel was just like bleeding people and it was like, what do I do? How did you kind of manage home life? Because I'm assuming that you were probably in the office, like 10xing things, and Michael, I know that your business had gone through a slump. How did you guys kind of mitigate that so that the whole thing didn't implode and you didn't lose family relationships and you didn't miss your kids growing up? And
well, I think a big piece of it, Jesse, what you talked about as in terms of what the action step was, talking about it, bringing people in, having conversations, all of that is absolutely the answer to the question or the answer to the problem. But what stops us from doing that is our pride. Mm-hmm. We're ashamed that the business is going backwards. We're ashamed that things are falling apart, that people are leaving, that customers are departing, they're going to a competitor, and we want to try to hide that. So I think the first victory or the first step towards winning in this area is saying, man, things are not good. We're down 15%. If this trend continues, we're going to be out of money on this date. And all of that, we were having those conversations, but what preceded those conversations was humility. Like the ship is taking on water, and if we don't fix the holes, we're going down. And so we were having those conversations with our team, with our staff. I started calling certain people. I was getting counselors. I was doing the things that you are saying. But before that, I had to admit that I'm not an expert. I'm so far from an expert. Like I'm the captain of the ship, and I've sailed it into an iceberg.
Yeah, right.
There's a huge hole, and we need all the help in the world to plug this hole. And so I had to get over myself, and just admit that if you don't help me, I'm going to die. And then I was able to reach out and get the assistance and get the help, and people rallied. And so I agree with what you're saying, but it's hard to humble yourself.
It is.
Yeah, I would say a similar thing for us, Danny. We had it in a time where we were in a big slump. I had a guy that was trying to reach out to us a couple of times about how he thought he could help us and help us innovate. and create new technology. And I thought, this guy's a whack job, man. I don't take this guy on. And now he works for us. He's our vice president of engineering. He's an absolute mad scientist. But what my takeaway, Jesse, is I think people need to learn to innovate, or they're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to be willing to change with little warning. Sometimes we make a change in one day. It's like, okay, that's not working. Stop doing it right now and change, because what we're doing that's stupid. I think a lot of organizations suffer from too many layers and hierarchy of they want to change something and it takes 3 months to change it.
And I give you an example of that, Mike. I appreciate you so much saying that, but I cannot tell you how many churches absolutely closed their doors when COVID hit and everyone had to shut down because they could not pivot on the drop of a dime to online services. Yes. They weren't prepared. They did not have the systems in place. They did not have the proper cameras, the proper internet connections. And because of that, their church has had to close and they could not receive income. Think about that. As a church, if you don't receive income, you can't pay your bills, your staff, your mortgage. And we had done so much work on the front end of innovating in terms of offering, like with push pay and online giving and online services. We had all that stuff in place. So when COVID hit and we could not have a physical service, we were able to shift on the drop of a dime to online services, which is why our church did really well through COVID and came out actually stronger on the back end. And it was all about innovation. It was all about that. So we were kind of prepared for that in a sense.
Yeah, 1,000%.
There's a story, I don't know if you guys have heard it, about the Blockbuster and Netflix.
Yeah.
Blockbuster had every opportunity in the world. They actually had an opportunity to purchase Netflix for $10 million.
Wow.
And they didn't. But they had the opportunity to go to what Netflix is now. And they simply said, no, we're going to stick to the in-store VHS DVD movie rentals. That's what people want to do. Wrong. So.
And a lot of times that innovation, because we're doing that right now, it may not feel natural. It might feel against the grain. And that's where the humility comes into play. My partner that we brought, he's bringing all these new things, higher workload. And I'm like, man, I don't know. This doesn't seem, no. He's proven this works. Go with it. Take the baton and run. Don't second guess. I don't know about this baton. I don't know if I really want to take it. Let me try to add to it. No, take the baton and run from subject matter experts who have run a good race. 100%. And going back to kind of the humility of putting it out there. Look, if you're going to hide your financial anxiety or a failure from your kids, to me, that is the equivalent of putting a loaded gun in their future, because they are observing what you're doing. And they're seeing, hey, how does this leader in the community handle adversity? Does he put it under the rug, pretend it's not there, pelican head in the sand? Or does he face up to it and say, guys, I led this boat into an iceberg. I'm going to navigate it out. I'm going to need help. I'm probably going to be not as available. We probably won't be able to do the vacations like we did. It's just going to be for a season. But hey, watch me navigate out of this and help me navigate out of this. What lesson do you want to teach your kids? Because I know the one dad who taught his kids that lesson, who said, hey, we are, our team is losing. We're on a losing streak right now. This is what we're going to do to fix our losing streak. And then I've seen other teams, hey, there's no losing streak. This is great. Oh, you need new iPhones? No problem. All the other kids have iPhones. We'll run up the credit card debt. That's not the leader you want to be for your family and your community. So the last thing that I did to navigate through some of the depressive feelings and lack of growth, I'm a really big believer that A precursor to depression is a feeling of lack of growth and lack of contribution. Just a feeling. You could be growing and contributing, but if you don't feel like you are, that's a precursor to depression. So you have to be careful with this last point, but this was very, very impactful for me. So while I'm navigating these feelings of no growth or failure doing this business slump, I kind of looked around and I said, okay, where are some other areas in life that aren't gonna, I'm not taking new stuff on, okay, but other areas that are part of my life, part of Jesse Dale, where I can be maybe 10xing my growth a little bit, that aren't gonna take crazy amounts of time. And what I did is I literally 10xed my prayer life like never before. I've always, we do the Bible in a year. So we continued the Bible in a year. And then I made it mandatory as part of my process that I'm reading this Bible commentary. Never miss a day except I take Sunday off. And team, the peace and the calm and the growth of just kind of 10xing the relationship with Jesus has been just nuts. Just really, really peaceful as I'm navigating this. Really, really peaceful. I also started to practice gratitude. I've talked about this. We've talked about that in the Alliance. I actually bought a journal. Started writing down every day, not a fad, not something that you get excited about and then quit doing. Every single day is practicing gratitude. That has made a big decision. And then the third, I didn't go all in on more time in the gym. Okay, I'm actually kind of doing a little less time in the gym, doing, cutting, doing supersets and, borrowing some gym time for business time, but getting razor focused on nutrition so I can feel like I'm growing physically. And going all in on those things has kept me emotionally positive, emotionally grounded. And it just feels good. Like I feel like, hey, I'm growing, I'm contributing, I'm feeling productive, I'm feeling like a producer while I'm fixing this other issue. So going all in on some other areas of where you can get the feeling of purpose, of growth, of contribution. Where else could you?
Can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah. That was my last point.
That I read this years ago from Colin Powell when he was leading the war in slipping my mind what war the Gulf War. He would literally go out and work on a car in his garage to get a feeling of a win. War. So think about that. Which when you're fighting a war, I'm sure you don't feel like you're winning. I'm sure there's just Desert Storm. Thank you, Bill. He would go out and he would work on a car, and just to get a W. And I cannot tell you, Jesse, how crucial that is when you're a leader, you're running, even as a mom, even if you're just a mom or a dad, and you just feel like your kid, they're just total screw ups. Just everything they just do everything wrong and they misbehave. And you just feel like, dude, I must be an idiot. I don't know if you guys, I've got 3 kids. I still have 3 kids. But there were days where we just felt like, I don't know if we have no idea what we're doing. You can go out and do something else to get that feeling of a W. And that keeps you motivated, keeps you excited, keeps you engaged. So I agree 100% that you have to have some sort of win in your day, even if it's a 30-minute workout or 30-minute time of devotions with prayer and Bible reading and meditation. Start your day with that. Start your day with a win. And it changes your mindset.
100%.
I love that. It's funny. I was this morning, last night I was talking to my wife and I said, I've got to get, since we've moved out of where we were and back into here, I've fallen completely out of my morning routine where I just get down, I get in my Bible and, so I issued a little challenge to myself this morning because I really want to get back in that habit. That habit was important to me. And so I told my my staff for the next 9 days. I'm gonna share my morning readings with them. I'm gonna try to encourage them and, bring them in, and even if they're not believers. And it was so funny because one of you guys shared something today, and this is a little off track on the call, but I want to read this because I thought it was amazing. I don't know what book it's from, Jesse, but you sent over, it said that I think it's impossible for a person who believes in the sovereignty of God and the power of God and the love of God to get depressed over circumstances. And that really, I feel like relates kind of to your last point. What we're talking about here is, what book was that from? I don't.
That was from my Bible commentary.
Okay. And that was great. I thought, wow, that's really, really good today for that. Just for those of you on here that, I don't know if everybody's a believer or not, but okay. Very cool. I had one other thing too I wanted to say, and then we can wrap this up. Earlier in the call, you mentioned something about auditing your comfort. I personally am a really, really big advocate for this. I like to do things that are really difficult. And I do this because I honestly fear comfort. It scares me. And I feel as if when I get comfortable, I literally start going, it's probably not healthy, but I start going places of like, oh my gosh, my business is going to go under. I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to gain a bunch of weight. My relationships are going to fail. And because I get comfortable, I feel like I almost get complacent, and I take things for granted. So I'm a big fan of auditing your comfort. And I just don't think you should ever be comfortable. And if you are, you really should be asking yourself, what can you do to grow? What can you do to change? What can you do to level up? What can you do to speak differently, to sell differently, to listen differently? What can you do? There's always something that I believe that we can do.
Always.
Yeah, I just believe that. That's really like my life. I mean, I just believe that if you guys are comfortable and you make yourselves uncomfortable, that's just where the real growth and the magic happens. And I really, that's my favorite point of your call. If they take away anything from this call, Jesse, is the people in slow seasons need to audit their comfort levels, because I believe they're probably too comfortable, and that's why it's slow.
Yeah. And I would say, especially audit your comfort during the good seasons.
For sure.
The last 8 months, things were good, and I wasn't willing to make the uncomfortable decisions. I wasn't listening to you guys. Were like, you'd said, hey, you got to probably make some changes over here. Nah, we're good.
Yep.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Hey, Jess, I know. Here's a thought also I wanted to throw out there, see what you guys think. And the rest of you guys listening on the call, just comment on this. But, when things are going well, and Michael just kind of referred to this, and you sort of like, hey, this is comfortable. We have good income. We've got sales are up, or the kids are doing well, or the team is winning, or, I know not all of us own businesses. So, but whatever it is, whatever we're doing, if it's going well, we tend to rest on our laurels. We tend to coast. And so one of the beautiful things about a downturn is that it gets us out of that mindset of like, hey, things are going well. And now I've got to dig deep and think about, what do I need to learn from this downturn? There's a lesson here, and Jesse, your first point tonight was audit your systems. When things go a little bit down in my life, I immediately look at what caused this. What system was I not paying attention to? Was I not dating my wife? Was I not communicating enough with her? Because right now we're in a bad spot. How did we get here? Was I not appreciating her? Was I not encouraging her? Were we not connecting on a nightly basis? Because we have systems in place that really work well. Even at the church, if there's a downturn in attendance, or if there's a downturn in offering or salvations, what did we stop paying attention to? What are we not pushing on? And it's a great, great opportunity, if we can see it that way, to really look at, what are the things that are supposed to be working in our life that we've stopped paying attention to? What's the lesson here? So I don't know if that makes sense. I threw a lot out there, but what do you
deep, Danny, but that's really good. I mean, someone has to really get really thoughtful but I love the idea of thinking about why something is where it's at. Why are we here? That's really good.
Don't treat the symptoms, overcome the cause. Because we are where we are because we weren't overcoming a cause. We were just kind of either not aware of or not looking at the symptom or just treating the symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Sure, for sure.
Well, team, this has been great. And I look forward. We're not out of our slump yet. We're going to get out of it. And this has been awesome, man. I really appreciate you guys being involved with this and helping me out along the way. And hopefully, if you're not in a business slump right now, you're now learning what to do to avoid that or to mitigate it if it should present itself. And I love it, guys.
Let me close with this thought, Jess. I really believe this. This is how you know you're a leader, even if it's just the leader of your home or the leader of your children or the whatever. We're all leaders in some aspect, right? When things start to go badly, and Andrew, you kind of mentioned this in your notes there. When things tend to go badly, you tend to start to eat junk food and not go to the gym and kind of get down on yourself and give up on your. Okay, here's what separates a leader from just an average person. A leader says, okay, this is not going well. I'm going to solve it. I'm going to fix it. And you bounce. You may have a couple of days where you get discouraged or down or depressed, but they don't last very long because your gut instinct is to say, okay, why is my kid acting this way? What happened? Who do we need to talk to? How do we get this fixed? Michael, you've done that. You've done that so well as a dad. You've had scenarios with your kids. You've said, okay, this isn't going well. Let me bring some people in. Let me get some advice. I need to try a new strategy to get my child back on track. You do the same thing with your business. And that's what makes you a great leader. Jesse, you do the same thing. Hey, business is down. What's going on? I'm discouraged. I'm down. Okay, I'll get back up in 2 days. But now what happened to get us here and how do we get back on track? And that if you're thinking like that, you are on the right track. You may not have the answer, but you are a leader. And I just want to just encourage you guys. That thought process makes you a leader.
Love it. That's 2 days, 2 hours, baby. You get 2 hours. Danny, awesome. We're gonna exit on that point. I really appreciate everyone's contribution. Keep the chat alive in the Facebook group. And we haven't done a hot seat in a while or a roundtable. So if anyone wants to volunteer to have their business in the hot seat or roundtable, we'd love to do that. And we'll see everyone not next week, 4th of July, right?
That's right. Next week we're off, but the following week we're back in action.
Awesome, guys. See you, everyone.
Okay. See you guys.
Bless.